So much of the time in our lives, we are holding our breaths. We are holding our breath. So I'd like you to close your eyes again and take 5 of your deepest, fullest breaths possible. And allow these breaths to start from the cauldron of your abdomen, from your belly, and rise all the way up your spine through the top of your head. And then as you exhale, relax. So let's do that for a moment. Really inviting the light, the life force of this breath we breathe into every cell and system of the body. Let's allow that breath to continue to open throughout this day, and throughout this talk today. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. So we're here today to explore that quality of shining within us and within the world. And we've talked a lot about the conditioned mind and duality and what really allows connection, authentic connection to happen, what prevents us from connecting from a place of deep love and truth. And shining is really not even possible in those moments where we are deluding ourselves in some way, shape, or form. When we're temporarily consumed by who and what we think we are, who and what we think life is, or anyone is. And so that perspective of mind is this really tiny little lens to perceive from. And what we actually are is vast. So vast. So bright. So huge. So shining takes a willingness to surrender our ideas, surrender our opinions, surrender our viewpoints, and surrender who and what we think we are. And only then are we able to really allow the natural flow of life that's wanting to move through us to have that space to do so. And one of the ways that it's always moving through us that we can relax into, because another piece of it is relaxation. No realization is possible without relaxation.
How can you really be connected to life and everything and all that is when you're stuck like this? I really know who I am, and I know what's going on. I know who you are, I know who you are, I know who you are. I know what I'm doing. Okay? I get this whole life thing. I got it all figured out here. But I'm not feeling so good. I don't know what's going on. It's very difficult to allow life to be as it is when this body is a prison, when this body is contracted around the belief system
And the breath is an aspect of life that's constantly flowing through us. Luckily, we don't have to think about it. It continues to move through us from birth to death without us having to think about it even once. If we were in charge of that, can you imagine if we were in charge of keeping our breath flowing through our whole life? It would be a miracle that we would all be here right now. Really. Have you ever tried to count your breaths? It's the simplest, most ancient meditative technique out on the market, thousands of years. And yet it is one of the most difficult things to actually do. So let's take a moment and experience it just for 5 seconds, where the only awareness that you have is your breath, and the only awareness that you allow to move in through you is this flow of breath and just the sound of my voice. So close your eyes for 5 seconds, okay? Breathe as deeply as you can. And just continue to relax into your own skin. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. What is there in that space? What is there? Is it an effort? Is it a struggle? What is that? That spaciousness is one of the scariest things to our little personality, ego-driven selves. To rest in that spaciousness. And that willingness to rest there is the foundation of shining and the foundation of nourishment. If we're constantly avoiding ourselves and denying what's actually happening by going into all the directions that the mind can go to distract itself, whether that's eating something or thinking about the past or future, stories about others, stories about ourselves, being busy all the time. That's another way of distracting. Constantly having somewhere to go, somewhere to be. Does it sound familiar? And especially in our Western world, this dynamic of, I'm late for a very important date. We're all like the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. I'm very late. Got to get out of here. And that serves the purpose of kind of keeping that confusion, that bundle of confusion of self going. And we all know that there's something wrong with it ultimately. There's something wrong with that perspective of who we are. It always feels a little off. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? When somebody asks you, so who are you? Who are you? Where do you go? Does it really have anything to do with those 5 seconds we just experienced? That's where that ability to rest in pure being, is where true connection lies and is where we are deeply nourished. And from that place, we're able to share our gifts authentically. From a place that's not preconceived from an unassuming place, from an innocent place, very innocent place. And we're so protecting that little self that we don't realize that very action of protection is stealing our innocence away from us, is robbing us of our innocence. So it's not really that serious. It's the human condition. It's what we've experienced thus far. And we're all becoming super aware of it, which is great. More and more and more and more and more and more people are waking up to the fact that, hey, who and what I thought I was is not the whole picture of who and what I actually am and what life actually is. So what is it? And the curiosity is growing and growing and growing. And the willingness to rest in the truth of what arises when you really ask yourself that question, contemplate it deeply, and continue to come back to it. It's becoming more of a practice in our humanity, more of a culture of awareness, of returning back home again and again and again to that unarmed heart, as we spoke about yesterday. So it's becoming a part of our culture. And so what are some ways that allow us to plug right back in? We talked about breath for a moment there. And the word for breath in Sanskrit is prana, which means universal life force energy. So the ancients knew that when we were breathing, we're not just breathing in air. We're breathing in universal life force energy, connection to all life. So that's one place where we can plug into the truth of our being, where the seed of shining resides and is nourished. Another big piece of this that not a lot of people talk about is play. Play. Because in play, the art of play, how long can you hold on to who you think you are when you're playing? How long does it last? If you're truly playing and you're really just allowing yourself to go wherever you want to go with your play and your enthusiasm and your silliness, it lasts maybe 1 second. And maybe you come back into that contraction of, oh, this is what I am. And you go into stories for a moment. And then, boom, if you surrender back into play, you're back in the current of life, the stream of breath, the pure beingness that is available. And as children, we knew this. We knew this well. We were masters at playing. Yet somewhere along the way, we kind of get more serious and we think we need to, comb our hair and make it look a little less wild and put some clothes on and put some shoes on and figure it out and get a degree and get serious about our lives and get organized. And although that does serve a purpose, when we lose the play, we lose our connection to the seed of our shining. We lose our connection to the aliveness and the beauty of this present moment. And our ability to respond creatively to life. And so it's so important as adults to revisit play every single day, to surround ourselves with a community, with people who bring out the little devious child within us, the mischief, the mischievous one. That mischievous one serves a purpose. That mischievous one is so important to our awakening. And when I was 10 or 11 years old, I had the great fortune of meeting one of my greatest teachers, Don Miguel Ruiz. And I worked very closely with him, and children were not allowed in that group at the time. He came to my parents' home in California. But I would sit on the stairs and I would listen to him talk. And the adults didn't know I was there. I would sneak in there. I would sit there, and I could hear them laughing. I could hear them talking about all this cool stuff and who we really are and how we lose ourselves and we try to figure it out again, and we have these crises and we put ourselves back together and what that really means and what it means to judge and what it means to be a victim. And my ears were just like big elephant ears listening to all of this wisdom. And I knew that there was something really true about it. And maybe I didn't understand it with my mind consciously, but when we hear truth being spoken, it rings through us. It resonates through us. That's why when a being like Martin Luther King Jr., like Mother Teresa, these beings that are undivided, there's not a fragmentation going on about who and what I think I am. There's this unity of love. There's this unity. When they speak, you feel that deeply in your soul. You can't deny it. Even if you don't agree with it, you feel that. So I felt this truth being spoken. And eventually, I asked him if I could be his apprentice, and it happened, and we worked together for many, many years and continue to connect in different ways. And the most important lesson I ever received from Don Miguel is about play. Because he could go into these really intense aspects of the mind where our deepest fear lies, and he could hold compassion and loving kindness in a spaciousness with somebody who is meeting that place for the first time. And he could hold so much love. He could go there. But he could also go to this child self, and he could invite everyone, all the adults in the room who thought they were so serious and that they were so spiritual, into this magical world of play, where we all took off the mask of what we thought we were. And we put it aside, and we followed each other through this magical world and way of being. And I remember being a little girl and him sitting in front of this group of 20 adults, and he let me put his hair in pigtails. There he was. He's sitting there, this adorable man, just open, radiant, sitting there letting this little girl braid his hair into pigtails and put lipstick on him. And he's sitting there, he's going with the whole experience. No resistance. Just, he becomes a little girl, and he's looking around, and everyone is just completely just awestruck and went directly into the experience of joy. He brought everyone to that experience of joy. And that experience of joy is our true nature. And play is one tool. It's one offering. It's not even a tool. It's just part of who we are. The truth of who we are is play. It's one opportunity to dive into that joyful, shining heart that wants to be nourished, that wants to be acknowledged. And yet, there is some courage involved in that too. And I understand that. I was playing charades last night at a Christmas party. And if you had asked me to play charades 10 years ago, I would have said, I don't know how to play charades, and I'm just going to watch. Because I would just be scared of not doing it right, or, someone judging me for that, or whatever there'd be some fear around it. But I saw this growth and this opportunity to play charades, and I just jumped in, and it was so fun. And we all got so silly. But there were some adults who would not play. They did not want to play. And they sat very seriously just observing everything that was going on. And we are so conditioned to give ourselves just this little range, this little box of delight, this little box of experiencing. Like I can connect with you just this far, and then you're reaching my boundary, my danger zone, and then it's like, oh no, come back tomorrow. Thank you. That's as far as I'm going to play with you. And then we limit the ability to evolve and move beyond and grow and peel away those layers of self that so yearn for that. They're like this musty wallpaper that's just charboiled, and there's different shades of wallpaper coming through from way back when, and it wants to be peeled off and a whole makeover happen in there. We have lots of little areas of self that are ready for a makeover. And so I remember being a child and having that moment being in school, in elementary school, of that place where I lost my innocence. One of the places that I consciously remember is I had a really long Indian name that was difficult to pronounce. My father is Sikh, and so I got this very long name that was, no one could say it. And instead of calling me by my name, the boys in my class in second grade thought it would be really great to call me a different name. And instead of Hari Darshan, which means great blessing. Hari is great, and Darshan is like the blessing you go and you receive a blessing from a saint. Beautiful meaning, great. Instead of Hari Darshan, I became Harry Martian. Harry Martian. Now, to them, the boys, it was hilarious. They thought they were genius. They were brilliant. And they would say that every time the roll was called, they would just, Harry Martian! Oh, and everybody would laugh. And now I can laugh along with them. At the time, it was terrifying to go to school. To be this little girl and to have this openness, this aliveness and receptivity, just receiving all that I'm experiencing without filters, and then to have this place of feeling betrayed by my fellow classmates, by my peers, by being teased in this way. And the way my little mind took that is, there must be something wrong. I must be a Harry Martian. They know. They know that I'm an alien to this planet. And it was, one of those scars or wounds. It created this wound within my heart that I had to heal over many, 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 many years to feel safe again in my body. And that's just one, kind of simple and sweet example. There are others from my life, and I'm sure from yours, that are not so sweet and simple. We all have that experience of losing our innocence in some way. There's a point where our wide openness meets the limitation, the so-called limitation of this world. And yes, there's someone who doesn't see us. We have the experience of life not really seeing us and honoring us. And it's not always going to be delicate. Sometimes, it's just going to drop us on the ground and we're going to splatter all over the place. And it can take whatever time it takes. It takes however long it takes to bring consciousness and awareness back into those fragmented places and to rest in being. The resting in being is like creating this tunnel as deep as you can possibly go that gets wider and wider and wider and wider and invites everything that's fragmented into it. And it all meshes together again. It becomes the soil that churns through our being, that gives us a deeper capacity to feel. So when those fragmented areas are brought into awareness and have the opportunity to really heal, and we see, oh, actually it's not true that I'm a hairy Martian. Actually, it's not true that I'm unworthy. Actually, it's not true that I'm the scum of the earth and I'll never make it. Actually, it's not true that all men are predators and are going to physically hurt me. No, it's not true. Whatever the story is. When awareness comes into that fragmentation and sees the truth, that opportunity for healing is there. And when we're ready and willing and available to rest deep enough into the source of our nourishment in pure beingness, healing and connection and insight and relaxation happen very, very, very quickly. It doesn't have to be a struggle. Everything in us wants to bring wholeness into our conscious living awareness. That's why these areas of fragmentation continue to arise. Because they're coming up into the light of our awareness. They're coming home. They're asking to come home. If we don't realize that that is what is actually happening, that is what is occurring, then we miss the opportunity to hold that part of ourself and hold space for it and allow it to fully be embraced into the totality of ourself, to be held by the greater awareness that we are. We become that tiny little fragmented, fearful little bit. When I lived in England a couple summers ago, my favorite English term I ever heard was bits and bobs. All the little bits and bobs. We become that little bit or bob. And that's what the whole experience becomes. But play, breath, willingness to rest, willingness to look deep, question what's arising, what's before me, what's coming through, what's sprouting out, this person, this circumstance, this situation. As Vanessa said, studying what's in front of us. Bringing attention to that. Being willing to say yes to that. Then the greater awareness can hold all that is there. That's a nourishment. That's self-love. That's self-love. By nourishing that seed of self-love and resting deeply into our bones, into this body, into this breath, into what is being offered here. We are then, from that place, able to shine. Able to really shine authentically. And I visited a women's prison a few years ago. And I had this calling to go there. I didn't realize what I would be doing exactly, but I went to their orientation and met many of the counselors, and I got to know some of the women who live there. And it turned out that there was an elderly Buddhist woman from Seattle who was starting a meditation group, mindfulness meditation group. And so she invited me to come and be a part of it, and I said, yeah, let's do it. That sounds like fun. And so I would go every Sunday for a few years, and we would co-facilitate this meditation group. Eventually, all the people who were there supporting her to hold the space for this group kind of fell away, and it became our sacred space that we're holding. And the most important lesson I got from working with those courageous women was that it doesn't matter whether you're in prison physically, you can be free, completely free here. You can be completely free here. You can be completely free here. It doesn't matter what the outer circumstance looks like. There's always the opportunity to receive the nourishment that lives and breathes within. There's always the opportunity for healing, for remembering, for coming home. There's always the opportunity for our imprisoned mind to be set free. And what they taught me is that they were willing to go into all of the fear and pain that they had experienced in their lives. They were willing to go into those areas and speak them and give voice to them and share them from a place of not judgment towards themselves, because they had done that for so long. They were riddled with self-judgment. They were riddled with self-sabotaging behaviors and fear and just heaviness. Not only were they in prison and out in the outer form, but inside it was like a living hell to be in the body. They were willing to see the truth about themselves by speaking all that had happened and bringing it out into this sacred circle of women, knowing that it would be held with loving kindness, knowing that it would be held with acceptance. And by giving them the voice to speak, and then giving them the space to sit and rest inside of their own experience, maybe for the first time, where that space was held, where they weren't threatened by someone coming to physically hurt them. They weren't threatened by all of the intense life situations that they had brought them to that point. But they had this space of loving kindness to go into meditation, true meditation, deep listening, and then experience the spaciousness beyond the fragmentation. And through nourishing that, week after week, year after year, a beautiful flowering was given this tenderness to occur. And that's all that any of us require, is that tenderness and that space of loving kindness, in that space of being willing to rest in our bones, rest in our own heart and skin, and allow the natural process that's wanting to move through us to flower. And yet, these women inspired me to go deeper into my own journey, and they continue to. And there are many other groups doing this kind of work, like Truth Be Told here in Texas. Incredible organization, inspiring women to share their story and write their story, and through that process heal and evolve and grow and empower themselves. But these women continue to inspire me to go deeper into my own journey of authenticity, And so that's all that is really required of us, is the willingness to step into what's being offered, to say yes. And yet, from birth to death, it's very common to completely get lost and distract ourselves all day long, every moment. Distraction, 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 distraction. And we never get there because we're always avoiding what's sprouting out in front of us, what is being offered. So, by willingness to be in this human experience with awareness, you are nourishing your seed of shining authentically in the world. And many of you have aspects in your life where you are shining beautifully, and it's effortless for you, where it's not effortless for me. And I learn from you by the way that you show up in your life, by the way that you are in your life, in your being. I learn from you. I receive your medicine. If I have the eyes to see it, perceive it, and say yes to it, I get to receive your medicine. You don't have to be a particular way. You don't have to change yourself at all. But you have a gift that only you can share. There will never be another you. Ever. Ever. Never. If you do not nourish that seed within you, we all miss out. I miss out. I don't get to learn from you. No one does. What a gift you offer life by being who you are. Be the alien that you are. Be willing to be the hairy Martian that you are. The wild, untamed heart that you are. It wants to flower. It already is flowering. Just get out of the way and say yes. Your life exactly as it is constructed, is the perfect formula for your unfolding and awakening and shining in the world. So, I'd like to take a moment to just open to any insight that you all are having, any questions, anything that is arising within you at this time. Bring it. Okay, no questions? Well, let's take a moment to rest in the breath and body. And do a really quick meditation together on shining and nourishing that seed that dwells within every being. So first of all, just see the center of your heart, the center of your chest, your heart center, as bright as the sun. And take a breath in and out, seeing that sun brighten, illuminate every cell in your body. And in your own way, bring all of your attention, all of your awareness directly into the center of that sun shining within you. And offer your deepest gratitude. Offer your deepest appreciation. And say, yes. Yes, I welcome you. I welcome you. And just notice what happens in your body-mind through that offering to yourself. Allow your hips and belly to relax completely. Soften your knees and thighs. Reach the crown of your head skyward and soften your shoulders towards the earth. And see yourself from the eyes of love. See yourself through the eyes of the one life. See yourself shining effortlessly, courageously, with full sincerity. And allow the light that you are to get as big as it can get, filling the space of this room, wherever you are. And beyond this room, to this space around the trees, around all matter, growing brighter and brighter and brighter. Fearlessly, courageously opening. And now see all of the children in the world being met and loved fully, being seen in their light, shining without fear. See all the mothers and fathers throughout time and space. See your mother and father, and their mother and father, and their mother's mother and their father's father. See the lineages of beings saying yes to living in the unarmed, free and open, courageous heart that has no need to protect itself. That simply is. See that healing happening. And take 3 more breaths, just sending your love out to all beings all over the planet. Sending your prayer that We live in a world where humans are increasingly getting brighter, Just bring your hands together. Rub them together for a moment and create some heat between your hands. Like you're going to start a fire. And rub, 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 rub. Continue to rub for 5, 4, 3. I want to see sparks flying. 2 and 1. And just cup your face with your hands and rest your head forward into your hands. And just take a moment to feel the healing energy of your own hands, embracing your face. And bring your hands to rest on your heart and belly. Know that everyone on the planet holds the same heart and belly that you're holding right now. Just having compassion for that. When you're ready, just open your eyes. And if there are no further questions, I would like to end with a celebration. I have one of my favorite songs I'd like to play for you, and I invite you, all of you who are listening at home, to dance. All of us here, we're going to dance together in this space for a song. And then I wish you were all here, because then we're going to eat some amazing raw vegan superfood chocolate that I made for today. But we'll send you some. We'll send you some goodness, I promise. So, many blessings. Thank you.